Are you ready to see a Florida you've never imagined? Before the highways, before the neon lights, these streets, beaches, and landmarks told another story. Forgotten faces, vanished buildings, and timeless beauty await. Step back into a Florida both familiar and completely unknown. Prepare to be surprised. Pensacola, 1900 to 1910. Tall ships at Pensacola Harbor. In 1900, tall ships crowded Pensacola Bay, their masts towering over the busy docks. Rail tracks and warehouses lined the waterfront, highlighting the port's central role in Gulf Coast trade of timber, cotton, and naval supplies. Opera House and National Bank. Pensacola's Opera House and American National Bank defined the city's downtown in 1904. The ornate building symbolized prosperity, while bicycles, pedestrians, and new electrical wires reflected everyday life and the arrival of modern conveniences in the Gulf City. Louisville and Nashville Railway Station. The Louisville and Nashville Railway Station in 1906 bustled with locomotives, horse-drawn wagons, and passengers. Its prominent clock tower marked Pensacola as a transportation hub, linking Gulf ports to national rail networks and shaping the city's commercial importance. Blount Building on Palafox Street. Completed in 1908, the Blount Building rose above downtown Pensacola with its 6 stories. Located at Garden and Palafox, it reflected economic ambition, combining retail at street level with offices above, and still stands as a city landmark today. Hotel Escambia welcoming guests. In 1910, Hotel Escambia offered lodging beneath sprawling oak trees, its broad porch inviting travelers. Situated near rail and port access, it served merchants, sailors, and visitors, reflecting Pensacola's blend of hospitality and strategic location on the Gulf Coast. Lumber unloading on the docks. Along Pensacola's waterfront in 1910, workers unloaded heavy lumber as waves splashed against the dock. Timber exports fueled the city's economy, linking Gulf Coast resources with national demand, and showing Pensacola's enduring role as a vital industrial seaport. Palafox Street and Theater Banner. Palafox Street in 1910 bustled with streetcars, carriages, and pedestrians beneath a large theater banner. The American National Bank stood prominently nearby, symbolizing Pensacola's vibrant civic and cultural life at the height of the city's early 20th century growth. Plaza Ferdinand and Harborview. Plaza Ferdinand in 1910 served as Pensacola's civic heart, its monuments, walkways, and landscaping providing a community gathering place. Beyond the square, the busy harbor signaled trade and commerce, linking local pride with the city's maritime prosperity. North view of Palafox Street. In 1910, Palafox Street stretched northward with churches, businesses, and a Pepsi-Cola streetcar stop. Tracks carried workers and shoppers along the city's Central Avenue, capturing Pensacola's balance between small-town atmosphere and expanding commercial development. Tarragona Street Wharf and Harbor. Tarragona Street Wharf in 1910 displayed Pensacola's thriving waterfront. Warehouses, ships, and freight lined the shoreline, demonstrating how the port supported trade, jobs, and daily life, securing its reputation as one of Florida's busiest Gulf Coast cities. Tallahassee, 1900 to 1926. Horse-drawn wagon on Residence Street. Around 1900, a man steadied his horse-drawn wagon outside the Presbyterian Manse and Quarterman House in Tallahassee. Quiet residential streets with shaded trees reflected the slower rhythms of daily life in Florida's small but important capital. College Hall at Florida State College. College Hall at Florida State College, photographed in 1901, featured twin towers and an arched entrance. This imposing brick building symbolized the city's growing educational mission, laying foundations for what would later become Florida State University. Florida State Capitol Building. In 1902, the Florida State Capitol stood as a neoclassical landmark in Tallahassee. Its dome and columned facade projected authority, housing the government that directed Florida's politics, laws, and aspirations for the new century. Ox cart beside the Capitol. Around 1906, a couple rode in an ox-drawn cart near the Capitol's west side. This scene contrasted rural traditions with political grandeur, capturing Tallahassee's unique mix of countryside life and civic importance. Carnegie Library, Tallahassee. Funded by philanthropist Andrew Carnegie, this public library opened in 1908 in Tallahassee. Its classical columns and dignified facade emphasize the city's cultural growth and the increasing value placed on education and public access to knowledge. Automobile Parade on City Street. In 1910, decorated automobiles rolled through Tallahassee during a festive parade. Crowds lined the streets, musicians played, and the event marked the arrival of modern technology, as cars became symbols of progress and community pride. Horse-drawn wagon on Monroe Street. On Monroe Street in 1910, a horse-drawn wagon passed storefronts between Pensacola and Jefferson Streets. The unpaved road and wooden structures showed Tallahassee's blend of small-town commerce and its role as Florida's administrative center. Rosa Yon in Cadillac. Rosa Yon posed proudly in her Cadillac outside the Brown House on North Monroe Street around 1910. Automobiles reflected status and wealth, marking Tallahassee's transition into the modern age of personal transportation. Seaboard Airline Railway Station. Built in 1905, Tallahassee's Seaboard Airline Railway Station remained active into the 1920s. Serving both freight and passengers, it connected the capital to regional and national networks, reinforcing the city's economic and political importance. Cornerstone Ceremony Gathering. Around 1926, a large crowd assembled in Tallahassee for a cornerstone laying ceremony. Automobiles, speeches, and community pride marked the event, reflecting both the city's modernization and its strong civic traditions in Florida's capital. Jacksonville, 1900 to 1912. Forsyth Street Bank and Post Office. Forsyth Street in 1900 featured the National Bank of Jacksonville and the city's post office. Beside it stood the Knights of Pythias Hall. Cobbled streets, utility poles, and horse-drawn carriages reflected the city's civic and commercial importance. Main Street Palm Line Streetcar. Jacksonville's Main Street in 1903 showcased the streetcar line framed by rows of palm trees. This electric transit connected neighborhoods and business districts, symbolizing progress and modernity while blending with the city's tropical character. Bustling Bay Street Market. Bay Street in 1904 bustled with energy as businesses thrived and shoppers filled the sidewalks. Signs advertised sales at Furchtgott's, a popular department store, while electric lines above revealed a modernizing city still rooted in its mercantile traditions. Hemming Park and Monroe. Hemming Park in 1904 was the heart of Jacksonville's civic life. The grand church spire dominated the view, while public events like Evangelist Small's evening gathering drew crowds. This open square reflected both spiritual and social rhythms of the growing city. Forsyth Street at night. Jacksonville's Forsyth Street glows under electric lights in 1910. Streetcars, early automobiles, and bustling storefronts create a sense of modernity. This vivid nighttime view highlights the city's rapid embrace of technology, marking its transformation into a hub of progress. Hogan Street Dental Sign. On Jacksonville's Hogan Street in 1910, a bold advertisement for Dr. Williams' dental practice promised no more dread of the dental chair. Surrounded by busy pedestrians, streetcars, and storefronts, the image captures both commerce and early marketing ingenuity. Hemming Park Monument. In 1910, Jacksonville's Hemming Park featured the towering Confederate monument surrounded by palms and newly planted greenery. The YMCA building rises in the background, while the park itself served as a civic centerpiece, blending commemoration, leisure, and the city's steady urban development. Forsyth Street with cyclists. On Forsyth Street in 1910, Jacksonville residents embraced modern mobility. Horse-drawn wagons, early cars, and a procession of bicycles shared the road. To the right, Hotel Seminole towered as a landmark, while the U.S. Post Office anchored the bustling downtown core. Lunch break by the river, 1910. Workers and townsfolk gather along the St. Johns River levee in Jacksonville for a midday meal. The lively waterfront scene captures the city's role as a shipping hub, where industry, commerce, and everyday life blended seamlessly against the backdrop of a growing skyline. Aragon Hotel on Forsyth, 1912. The Aragon Hotel, standing at Forsyth and Julia Streets, offered modest lodging in the heart of Jacksonville. Its wooden balconies and bustling frontage reflect a city in transition, where horse-drawn carriages and early automobiles shared the streets of a growing metropolis. St. Augustine, 1902 to 1915. Downtown St. Augustine, 1902. Women in long dresses walk along the busy streets of St. Augustine, where horse-drawn carriages line the avenue. The Spanish Revival architecture rises proudly, reminding us that this is America's oldest city, carrying centuries of history into the modern era. Bird's-eye view of St. Augustine, 1902. A sweeping view captures St. Augustine during its transformation into a tourist destination. Henry Flagler's grand hotels and Mediterranean-inspired architecture dominate the skyline, while the city's colonial past blends with modern ambitions at the dawn of the 20th century. Hot baths on Matanzas River, 1902. Along the Matanzas River, residents and visitors could pause for a hot bath at this riverside pavilion. On the left stood Dr. Vedder's Curiosities Museum, a reminder of the city's mix of leisure, tourism, and quirky attractions at the dawn of modern St. Augustine. King Street with Oak Canopy, 1902. King Street in St. Augustine, shaded by towering live oaks, reveals the charm of early 20th century Florida. Horse-drawn carriages share the road with pedestrians, while storefronts line the avenue, marking the city's transition into a bustling cultural hub. Dodge's Curiosity Shop, 1905. This photograph shows Dodge's Old Curiosity Shop, a famed stop in St. Augustine around 1905. Its weathered facade stood beside narrow streets, attracting visitors with oddities and antiques, while the nearby funeral director's sign added a striking period detail. Oldest house in Florida, 1905. This image captures the Gonzalez Alvarez house, the oldest surviving Spanish colonial residence in Florida, photographed in 1905. Built between 1723 and 1790, the structure stands as a testament to centuries of colonial history in St. Augustine's oldest neighborhood. St. Augustine Post Office. This 1906 photograph shows the St. Augustine Post Office, a landmark of civic pride in Florida's oldest city. Built in the early 20th century, the structure reflects the era's architectural elegance while serving as a vital hub for communication and commerce. St. George Street life. This 1908 view of St. George Street in St. Augustine shows a quiet moment where horses and bicycles were the city's main transportation. Wooden balconies line the narrow street, capturing the charm and simplicity of daily life in Florida's oldest settlement. St. George Street shops. Captured in 1910, this view of 65 through 69 St. George Street shows a lively commercial stretch with balconies and storefronts close to the road. A resident peeks from the doorway, while the narrow street reflects the daily rhythm of Florida's oldest city. Ponce Hotel street life. In front of the Grand Ponce Hotel around 1915, horse-drawn carriages share the road with early automobiles. Well-dressed pedestrians cross the lively avenue, capturing the transition from the Victorian era into Florida's modern tourist age. Daytona Beach, 1900 to 1910. South Bridge over Halifax. A westward view of South Bridge in Daytona Beach around 1900, crossing the Halifax River. Later known as Veterans Memorial Bridge, this vital connection opened the city to trade and tourism. Palm trees line the shore, framing one of Florida's earliest coastal crossings. Seabreeze Bathing Hour. On the sands of Seabreeze Beach in 1904, families gather in carriages and on foot, dressed in their finest for an afternoon by the sea. The wide Atlantic horizon frames this rare glimpse of early Florida leisure, where the coastline itself was the main attraction. Hotel Ridgewood on Ridgewood Avenue. Framed by towering oaks draped in Spanish moss, the Hotel Ridgewood stood as a landmark of Daytona Beach hospitality in 1904. Its grand wooden facade and shaded lawns welcomed travelers arriving by carriage, offering a peaceful retreat just steps from the bustling avenues. Hotel Desplant and Magnolia Avenue, 1904. Built during the golden era of Daytona Beach, the Hotel Desplant stood out for the elegance of its architecture and its location on Magnolia Avenue. Surrounded by palm trees and quiet streets, the building symbolized sophistication, attracting tourists seeking luxury on Florida's coast. Ormond Daytona Beach Auto Races. On February 17, 1905, pioneers of speed like W.K. Vanderbilt, A. McDonald, and H.T. Thomas lined up their powerful machines on the sands of Ormond Daytona Beach. These early races transformed Florida's shoreline into the birthplace of American motorsport, where innovation met daring ambition. The Clarendon Hotel. Standing proudly on Seabreeze Avenue, the Clarendon Hotel symbolized Daytona Beach's rise as a seaside resort. Captured in 1905, its grand facade welcomed wealthy tourists arriving for sun, ocean breezes, and the promise of leisure, while unpaved streets still reminded visitors of the frontier spirit. Speed Week on Beach Street. Captured during the excitement of Speed Week, this 1906 view of Beach Street shows auto liveries lining the road, ready for visitors eager to witness the new era of racing on the sands. Palm trees frame the bustling scene where commerce, curiosity, and early motorsport culture intertwined. Beach Street Souvenir Shops. Along Daytona's Beach Street in 1906, small wooden storefronts advertised souvenirs for visitors drawn to the booming coastal resort. Palm trees lined the sandy street where pedestrians and horse-drawn buggies mingled, capturing the charm of a city balancing its frontier roots with its rising popularity as a tourist destination. Palm Avenue in Seabreeze. Palm Avenue stretched quietly through Seabreeze in 1906, lined with young palms and sandy tracks shaped by carriages. On the right stood Wilman's Opera House, its sign also promoting real estate ventures by manager Charles Bergman. The scene reflects the blend of culture and commerce in a growing coastal town. South Ridgewood Avenue. Daytona Beach's South Ridgewood Avenue in 1910 was shaded by towering oaks draped in Spanish moss. The sandy road, quiet and unpaved, carried only light traffic. A century later, these same trees would thin as automobiles replaced the calm rhythm of carriages. Orlando, 1900 to 1930. Orlando Business District. A rooftop view of Orlando's business district shows brick storefronts, church towers, and a modest skyline. Around 1900, the city was still small, yet this scene reflects its early ambition to become a thriving urban center in Florida. Hotel San Juan, 1904. On Orange Avenue, the Grand Hotel San Juan dominated early Orlando. Its brick facade and balconies symbolized prosperity in a still modest town. This view captures the blend of ambition and charm shaping the city at the dawn of the century. Orlando's street scene. This elevated view captures Orlando in 1915, with bustling streets framed by church towers and brick storefronts. Carriages and early automobiles share the roads, reflecting a city in transition, where tradition and progress coexisted at the heart of Central Florida. Central Avenue. This bustling downtown view shows Central Avenue in the 1920s, where pedestrians in elegant attire cross busy intersections. Early automobiles line the streets, while shops and a corner clock anchor the scene. Orlando radiated a growing metropolitan charm, balancing modern life with Southern character. Orange Avenue from Church Street. A vibrant scene of Orange Avenue in the 1920s captures Orlando's commercial pulse. The White House building dominates the corner as automobiles and trolleys fill the streets. Crowds walk under awnings, reflecting a city moving confidently into the modern era of business and culture. Chamber of Commerce interior. Inside the former Orlando Chamber of Commerce, the late 1920s atmosphere reveals ornate arches, tiled fountain, and displays of local enterprise. This building later became famous for hosting the Orlando Jaycees annual haunted house, blending public spirit with community traditions that carried on for decades. Beecham Theater. The Beecham Theater in 1923, Orlando. The marquee announces The Burned Crucifix, part of a new entertainment wave shaping downtown life. Horse-drawn wagons share the street with early automobiles, capturing a city straddling the past and the modern age. Orange Avenue. Downtown Orlando in 1926 shows its first traffic control tower rising above Orange Avenue. Policemen directed cars and trolleys from inside this elevated booth, marking a new era of urban order. The San Juan Cafe sign and bustling sidewalks reveal a city alive with commerce and modern ambition. Corner Orange and Pine. The bustling corner of Orange Avenue and Pine Street in 1928 captures one of Orlando's most iconic landmarks. Built around 1890, the elegant brick building with its tall cupola symbolized prosperity. Cars line the busy street while pedestrians stroll beneath striped awnings, unaware its demolition loomed in 1942. The City Beautiful Gateway, 1930. On October 26, 1930, Orlando welcomed visitors beneath this grand archway inscribed "The City Beautiful." Framed by trees and early automobiles, the gateway embodied community pride and optimism for growth. This iconic entrance celebrated Orlando's new identity, marking its transformation from a small southern town into a thriving urban destination. Lakeland, 1907 to 1927. Hawkins Fancy Grocery Market, 1907. 5 young men pose proudly outside Hawkins Fancy Grocery Market, a centerpiece of Lakeland's early commerce. The storefront, with its bold signage, reflects a growing town where small businesses anchored community life and supplied daily essentials. Confederate Monument in Munn Park, 1915. Members of the United Daughters of the Confederacy gather around the Confederate Monument in Munn Park. Erected as a civic landmark, it became a focal point for community memory, reflecting the era's cultural values and contested historical narratives. Kentucky Avenue, 1920. A view north along Kentucky Avenue captures the grandeur of the Hotel Kibler, with its arches and prominent sign. Early automobiles line the street, while pedestrians stroll beneath shaded trees, revealing Lakeland's transformation into a bustling and elegant Florida city. East Main Street, 1920. A glimpse of East Main Street's north side captures early automobiles parked by brick storefronts and bustling sidewalks. Lakeland was entering a new era, balancing its small-town charm with the growing pace of commerce and modern transportation. Main Street, 1920s. Main Street in Lakeland during the 1920s, lined with brick buildings and bustling storefronts. This snapshot captures Lakeland's growth and optimism during Florida's era of rapid expansion. State Bank of Lakeland, 1920s. The State Bank of Lakeland embodied financial ambition in Florida's small-town boom years. Its solid architecture, geometric details, and commanding presence signaled trust, stability, and optimism as Lakeland grew into a more confident and economically connected community. Yarnell Building. The Yarnell Building, marked proudly with its 1920 date, reflects Lakeland's early commercial growth. With cars parked along its sturdy brick facade and wide balconies above, it became both a workplace and gathering spot, symbolizing ambition and stability in the 1920s. Women at the lake. 3 young women in bathing suits pose confidently on a lakeside dock, capturing the carefree spirit of Lakeland in the 1920s. Their relaxed elegance reflects a time when outdoor leisure and natural beauty defined Florida's growing charm. 4th of July Parade, 1923. Crowds line the streets as decorated cars roll by, celebrating Independence Day in Lakeland. American flags wave proudly from storefronts while families gather to watch the procession. The scene reflects patriotic unity and small-town pride in early 20th century Florida. Famous department store, 1927. Located at 221 East Main Street, the store was owned and operated by Cyrus Wolfson and was the largest store in Lakeland in the 1920s, before falling victim to the Great Depression and closing its doors in the early 1930s. The building is now occupied by Co-Hatch. Tampa, 1900 to 1927. Ybor City Streetcar, 1900. A streetcar glides through Ybor City, carrying workers past wooden houses and early cigar factories. This neighborhood became Tampa's cultural heartbeat, built by immigrants from Cuba, Spain, and Italy, where smoke, commerce, and stories shaped a thriving community. Gasparilla Festival, 1904. A 1903 Cadillac, adorned with flags and flowers, carries elegantly dressed riders during Tampa's May Festival Parade. This marked the early years of the Gasparilla tradition, blending automobiles, carriages, and costumed pirates into a spectacle that would define the city's cultural identity. Franklin Street. Franklin Street in Tampa around 1905 shows a quiet commercial block lined with brick storefronts and modest signage. Overhead, a web of power lines reflects the city's rapid modernization, while horse-drawn wagons and scattered pedestrians hint at a town balancing tradition with progress. Lafayette Street, 1906. A westward view from Franklin Street captures Lafayette Street alive with early electric streetcars and sturdy brick facades. Wooden poles heavy with wires line the sidewalks, symbols of Tampa's growing infrastructure. Signs of commerce and quiet pedestrians reflect a city cautiously stepping into modernity. Hillsborough County Courthouse, 1908. This grand courthouse, crowned with onion-shaped domes, once dominated Tampa's skyline before its demolition. Its red brick facade and arched windows embodied civic ambition at the dawn of the century, standing as both a seat of justice and a landmark of Hillsborough's growth. Lafayette Street Bridge, 1911. Looking west from Ashley Street, the second Lafayette Street Bridge carried streetcars, carriages, and pedestrians across the Hillsborough River. On the left, businesses like French Dry Cleaning highlight Tampa's urban growth, while the University of Tampa's iconic minarets appear in the distance. Hyde Park, 1913. An elevated view of Hyde Park shows rows of elegant homes and tree-lined streets, reflecting the neighborhood's growing wealth and influence. Streetcars and carriages travel the avenue, symbolizing Tampa's rapid expansion and the prominence of this community within the revised city charter. Franklin Street, 1913. A sweeping view down Franklin Street captures Tampa's bustling core with brick buildings, early automobiles, and pedestrians lining the wide avenue. Rising structures signal prosperity, while the distant waterfront reminds us of the city's growing importance as a Gulf Coast hub. 7th Avenue in Ybor City, 1920. Streetcars glide along 7th Avenue in Ybor City, passing storefronts and balconies that defined this thriving immigrant district. Signs advertise Katz's and other shops, while pedestrians share space with trolleys, reflecting Tampa's vibrant mix of commerce, culture, and daily life. 7th Avenue in Ybor City, 1927. The 1600 block of 7th Avenue bustles with shops like John Bright, Demi Napoli, and S.H. Kress. Storefronts overflow with goods, cars line the street, and Ybor City's unique energy as Tampa's immigrant heart shines through in every detail. Miami, 1900 to 1910. Miami River, 1900. Men unload their catch at the fish docks along the Miami River, circa 1900. Wooden structures rise on the banks, sails loom in the background, and workers in hats mark Miami's early identity as a river town tied to fishing trade. Hotel Royal Palm, 1901. Opened in 1897 by Henry Flagler, the Grand Hotel Royal Palm stood as Miami's first luxury resort. By 1901, its vast verandas and commanding presence drew wealthy visitors to the young city. Its fate was sealed in 1930 when termites forced demolition. Avenue C, 1904. This quiet dirt road in Miami, known then as Avenue C, shows the city's earliest residential landscape. Shaded by trees and lined with modest wooden houses, it reflects a humble beginning before the street was renamed First Avenue as the city expanded. Biscayne Bay, 1905. Children and families gather along the rocky shoreline of Biscayne Bay, capturing a rare moment of leisure in early Miami. With sailboats anchored in the distance, the scene blends simple play with the natural beauty that would one day attract visitors worldwide. Royal Palm Hotel, 1905. Guests enjoy a round of clock golf on the manicured lawn of the Royal Palm Hotel, one of Miami's earliest luxury resorts. Surrounded by palm trees and sunshine, the scene reflects the city's rise as a winter playground for America's wealthy. Docks along the Miami River, 1905. Tall masts line the docks along the Miami River, where small sailboats and larger vessels rest side by side. Palm trees fringe the shore, while locals move about the pier. This quiet waterfront would later transform into the bustling heart of maritime Miami. Miami Club, 1907. Nestled among palm trees, the Miami Club stood as a refined retreat for the city's elite. Its grand porch, American flag waving above, reflected exclusivity and ambition. Here, decisions and friendships shaped the young city's path toward becoming a cosmopolitan hub. Shores of Biscayne Bay, 1910. Along the calm shores of Biscayne Bay, early Miami residents stroll and relax by the water's edge. Sailboats drift in the distance, while children play near the sand. This serene setting shows the city's coastal charm before the rise of modern resorts. Avenue B, 1910. Looking north from Avenue B, Miami reveals its early ambitions with palm-lined streets and the prominent Hotel Halcyon rising in the background. Automobiles share space with pedestrians, marking the city's transformation from a small coastal town into a modern urban hub. Miami River Mooring, 1910. At the mouth of the Miami River, slender boats rest quietly against the wooden dock, their tall masts mirrored on Biscayne Bay's surface. This scene shows the lifeline of early Miami, where fishing, trade, and daily survival connected the young city to the sea. Key West, 1912 to 1930. Key West Harbor. In 1912, Key West's harbor bustled with ships and warehouses, reflecting its role as a vital maritime hub. Wooden houses lined the streets, while smoke on the horizon hinted at industry and constant trade with Cuba and beyond. Fire Station Number 2. Key West's Fire Station Number 2 stood proudly behind the county courthouse in 1915. Firemen posed with horse-drawn engines and early motorized vehicles, capturing the moment when tradition and modern technology worked side by side to protect the growing city. Gatto Cigar Factory Fire. On December 17, 1915, flames consumed the Gatto Cigar Factory on Simonton Street. Crowds gathered as smoke filled the sky, witnessing the destruction of one of Key West's largest cigar landmarks. The disaster deeply impacted the city's thriving cigar industry. Duval Street. Viewed from the Jefferson Hotel, Duval Street stretches across Key West in 1918. The street is lined with homes, businesses, and bustling pedestrians, showcasing the island's vibrant community at the end of World War I. It remains the cultural heart of Key West to this day. Key West Naval View. Taken from the U.S. Naval Station, this view looks east along Fleming Street in 1920. The rooftops, church spires, and dense houses highlight Key West's growth as both a military and civilian hub during the early 20th century. A unique perspective on the island's evolving skyline. Duval Street and Monroe Theater. Looking north from Angela Street, this 1921 view captures Duval Street alive with early automobiles and the iconic Monroe Theater sign. Taken during a survey for a proposed sewerage and firefighting system, the photo reveals both daily life and the city's modernization efforts. Fleming Street and Monroe Courthouse. Taken from the La Concha Hotel, this 1926 view overlooks the 400 block of Fleming Street, featuring the Monroe County Courthouse and the old jail. The mix of civic buildings and wooden homes captures Key West at a turning point, balancing its frontier past with the modern 20th century. Casa Marina Beach. Taken on February 15, 1927, this photo shows a lively group of women at Casa Marina Beach, including locals and visitors from Chicago. Their swimsuits, smiles, and relaxed poses reflect the rise of Key West as a resort destination, where the island's tropical charm met the glamour of the Roaring Twenties. Bishop visits Convent of Mary Immaculate. In 1929, the bishop's visit to the Convent of Mary Immaculate gathered nuns, students, and townspeople along Division Street. The automobile parked in front contrasts with the religious procession, symbolizing how tradition and modernity coexisted in Key West at the close of the Roaring Twenties. Hotel La Concha, Duval Street. By 1930, Key West had begun to embrace a more modern skyline with the construction of Hotel La Concha on Duval Street. The imposing structure stood as a symbol of resilience during the Depression era, marking the island's shift from its old wooden town character to a new chapter of ambition and tourism. After exploring Florida's cities from 1900 to 1930, we've seen a world both vibrant and challenging, filled with charm yet lacking modern comforts. What do you think about life back then? Would happiness be greater in yesterday's simplicity or today's complexity and convenience? Share your thoughts below.